the number 2 experience was when I dislocated my shoulder. All right, so for the first time I went skiing in my life, I was in my mid-30s. I lived in Idaho at the time. I went to this place called Bogus Basin. And I was on the, of course this happened on the Bunny Hill. And there was nobody else around me. There were no trees, nothing. I was skiing down this portion. Now it was a little bit steeper portion than the rest of the Bunny Hill, but it was still completely clear of all obstacles. So I don't know what happened, but somehow my left arm got pulled behind me by some mysterious force, and I felt a pop, and I knew exactly what had happened. So, of course, I felt no pain. That's normal. It was at least a 45-minute drive to get down the ski hill, and then another maybe like 10 minutes to drive to the ER. And so that's what we did. During the drive, the pain started creeping up. And it was funny because when I first, so, you know, on these ski hills, they have like different areas for the customers. And one of the areas is where they bring people that need medical attention. And they were like, okay, well, let's take your shirt off to see what's going on. I took my shirt off, and of course, one of my shoulders was just like, you could just tell it was dislocated. It was like one of my arms was longer, and one of my shoulders was just misshapen, I guess might be the right word. You could tell something was seriously wrong with that. So yes, we knew for certain it was a dislocation. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't feel any pain, so this must just be typical of a dislocated shoulder dislocation injury. So I'm like, let's smoke a cigarette. So I'm smoking a cigarette, and then I'm thinking, well, I should probably get to the hospital. So my partner at the time, we're driving to the hospital. He drives me to the hospital. And as we're going down the hill, not the ski hill, but like the mountain, driving down the mountain, 45 minutes, the pain is starting to creep up. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. By the time we get to the ER, I am in so much pain that I am almost like in a panic-stricken state. They're trying to ask me all of these questions, my name, address, social, insurance, all of that stuff, and I can barely get this information out because the pain is, and it's coming in waves. It's just too much. When the doctor finally saw me, he suggested that I do some deep breathing. So I started doing that, and I started visualizing looking at a sunset, and that helped immensely. The pain just like started to subside, and they gave me some kind of anesthesia because the next thing I know, I'm waking up and my shoulders popped back in place. So that was the number 2 worst painful experience of my life. Now he gets to number 1. Food poisoning. Of all of the experiences that anybody could have, that I could have, who'd have thought that food poisoning would be the most painful experience I've ever had in my life, and that's been the most painful experience since then. This happened again in my early 30s. I was like 31. I worked at a well-known fast food restaurant. They give us, I think it was like at least one free meal. I ate that free meal, and I proceed to walk home. And I'm starting to notice there's something going on with my stomach. And it's starting to become more and more uncomfortable, more and more painful. And as the night wears on, this pain becomes excruciating. It felt like I had swallowed glass and razor blades. and my body was starting to purge itself from both ends. I just had this image, well, not an image really, but just this experience burned in my mind where I am on the bathroom floor just crying, doubled over in a fetal position. I literally wanted to die. I've heard other people describe experiences where they were in so much pain they wanted to die, and I thought, they're just exaggerating. No, when they say that, they literally mean they wanted to die, and that is exactly how I felt in that moment. I called a friend, and she was giving me this moral support and some ideas on what to do. And so, you know, being somebody who is Gen X, you know, I don't know if this is everybody in my generation, but I just had this huge source of pride and this huge, I wanted to do everything myself. This huge sense of self-reliance. So I didn't call the hospital. I didn't even call my mother. And my mother lived in the Midwest, and I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest. The only person I called was that friend of mine. I did have a roommate, but I think she was like on vacation somewhere because I don't remember her being around. I just had this huge sense of I wanted to solve this by myself. So when all the purging was finished, I just, you know, I tried to sleep. I could barely sleep because the pain was so terrible. The next day, I had to go to the store for various nutrients, various supplies. I needed electrolytes. I needed protein shakes. I couldn't put very much solid in my stomach because it would immediately come up. And my stomach was still so painful that I could barely move. Every time I moved, it was like the razor blades and the glass were just jiggling around in my stomach, causing more damage. In hindsight, I probably should have gone to the hospital because I guess there's types of food poisoning that you can't recover from on your own. You need antibiotics, but I was a crazy Gen X person. I'm not saying I didn't care, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm thinking I can get through this myself. Well, luckily for me, I did. I couldn't eat solid food for like a week. I had to rely on electrolyte liquids and protein shakes, but eventually I did get through it. But yes, that was the worst experience of my life in terms of pain. So that tops it off as number one. So I will leave you to be the judge. Would it be, just to review, kneeling on a thumbtack, falling out of a tree while holding a running chainsaw, getting swung around in grade school by a girl that caused me to hit my face against the pavement and split my lip open, used a soldering iron on my plantar warts to remove them, dislocating my shoulder, and food poisoning. Between all of those and how I'm recalling the story to you, what's your opinion? Let me know in the comments. Does the Gen X generation have a higher tolerance for pain? I don't know. All I know is I'm looking at back at those experiences and I'm kind of laughing about them. I have no idea why. But if there is a moral to the story, it is that you should not be afraid of pain or discomfort, because as cliched as it is, they do make you stronger. They make you more resilient at the end of the day. When you have suffered through terrible experiences, when you have future terrible experiences, you're going to always compare it back to those past experiences and they'll go, well, was it bad as that? No. Then I'm going to be okay. Right? Did you get unalived? No. So you're going to be okay. Remember those animated Aladdin movies by Disney? There was this in the sequel, where Jafar was the genie and he was trying to take revenge against Aladdin and the original genie, his powers would not allow him to kill anybody. But his tagline through the whole movie was, "You'll be amazed at what you can live through." And that's kind of how, it's almost like the motto of the Gen X generation. Or maybe it would be better suited to say, you know, just like the meme says, "But did you unalive?" You know, I can't say the D word because apparently these various algorithms for these various social media sites, they don't like the D word. So I have to say unalive. But did you get unalived? No. So you're going to be good. All right. Well, thanks for listening. That's all I have to say about that. Bye.